Hey, I'm your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, and this is Where'd You Get Your Funk From? For this episode, I'm pleased to welcome funk musician and self-proclaimed entertainer-preneur, ToNY CaMM. He and his blend of funk, jazz, and soul in high-energy performances, including tributes to legends like George Clinton and Parliament-Funkadelic. Other interests for him include running a jazz club, producing a comic book series, and his release, that New Funk, Volume 1, was named FUNKNSTUFF's Top 25 Albums of 2025. Congratulations on that. No rest for the weary, right? They say Volume 2 just came out.
That's right,
and
tomorrow. Yeah,
It's equally strong, I would say.
yeah.
And come this June, Tony's set to share the Give Me the Funk tour bill with Shirley Clinton and the P Union in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is just up the road a little bit from me. So what's up, Tony?
How you doing, brother? Good. Glad. Thanks for having me on here, man. I've watched you from afar for a long time.
Well, good to have you. Thanks for making it happen. And
Yes,
thanks
sir.
for the funk, for sure.
You're welcome. Got to give up the P.
Always.
Yeah.
Where are you coming to us from, Tony?
I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia, the mecca of funk now, I guess. People jokingly, because now we've started to have little New Year's Eve funk get-togethers here in Lynchburg. So people are like, "You're the mecca now, man." I'm like, "No, Lynchburg's not the only thing funky here is me." But we're right in central Virginia, about an hour south of Charlottesville. So
Okay. Yeah.
right in the center.
So you're probably like 4 hours. I'm Charlotte area, so
Charlotte,
somewhat.
yeah, it's about around four, roughly about 4 hours, yeah. Mhm.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're holding it down in this part of the country, so
You are, man. You got some cool stuff. One of my bandmates, Guy Curtis, from P Funk Lore, he's down there in Charlotte. So we have a connection there. So you might be seeing me soon coming down and just funking it up outside your house or something. You never know.
right on. Well, let me know.
All right.
Um, so the first thing in this show, the first order of business, is just asking you the name, which is where'd you get your funk from,
Mhm.
and I want that in two parts. The first is musical, which is pretty obvious. Where'd you first get infused with the funk, and
Right.
then the second part of that is, how is it, kind of shaped you into who you are.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, first got dipped in the funk around 13 years old, I think it was, with Parliament-Funkadelic, and dabbled in it a little bit, but really got knee deep in all of it in 74 with Standing on the Verge when that came out. That was amazing. And it helped me that I had the local R&B funk band in our city rehearsed two doors up from my house. So I used to go up as a 14-year-old and peek through their window and watch them rehearsing. And I'm like, they were playing Standing on the Verge. I'm like, wait a minute, is this Funkadelic? Like, are these the guys? Because, back then you're thinking, wait a minute, they sound too good. They must be the guys on the record. And but I latched onto the P-Funk thing and then the whole George Clinton lore and all that stuff. And then I was hooked P-Funk from that point. And then all through high school, I didn't do any sports or any of that stuff, but I was the president of the P-Funk club at my school. There's about 5 or 6 of us. and we had a club with one day I was looking recently through the old binder with the records that we kept meeting minutes, and each person had a title, Maggot Overlord, and all this kind of
Now
stuff.
you're serious.
Oh, we were serious, man. And so we used to we had a little disco group back then where we would go and rock all the high school parties. And we had a older friend of ours was a DJ, and we would go along with the goggles and the lightsabers and totally out of place for anything in the room. And they would do flashlight and stuff like that, man. And we would just light the parties up. And so that was I think when I got the performance bug, performing under the P-Funk arena, kind of a thing started back then. So that's where I got the funk from, Standing on the Verge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
what was part two of that?
how has it made Tony who Tony is today?
Yeah, well, hey, now that's a good long story. So my wife and I met in 79 on we were both singing on another local R&B band. They were doing mostly R&B stuff, cameo stuff like that, but never really getting into Parliament-Funkadelic stuff. And so my plan at that time was I had two dreams. I was going to be George Clinton on stage leading a band playing P-Funk music, and or I was going to be a songwriter who's writing like really cool songs that like Lionel Richie and stuff like that, writes that people can listen to, dance to, make memories to. And so as life would start life and we started having children, we became parents, and then we put everything on the shelf and took careers. And so I was in hospitality for 4 decades. So after 40 years, I retired just last year from the hospitality business. And I dabbled in music a little bit here and there, playing with a couple of local bands and stuff. And so now we're full circle. So here it is almost 50 years later, on stage with members of Parliament-Funkadelic and doing shows, and releasing albums of music that I wrote, and people are listening to it, dancing to it, and making memories to it. So it's kind of like that 5 decade span. So now I'm back into, I feel like I'm like, it's 1979 all over again. You know, I'm 19 again. So I'm having a ball.
Awesome. That's a time warp, you know?
It is a time warp. Never give up on that dream. You know, you're going to have it. Just stick with it. It'll come back around, you know. So
Yeah. Well, you still look like a young man, so, you know, no
thank you,
worries
sir.
there.
Appreciate that. This gives it away a little bit, but you're only as young.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the retirement too.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, finally had to go ahead and do that. And I'm loving it. I recommend it.
I'm considering it. I'm getting to that stage now, you know, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I could be all right with that.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. I'm doing all the things I want to do.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you know what? Those decades go by in a flash. You can't tell me different. So,
Oh, and right, true. Yeah, yeah,
you know, um,
exactly.
I mean, I relate totally to some of that because, you know, I put, you know, music and that kind of thing on hold quite a bit myself for family reasons, you know, and
Yeah.
then I came back to it in 2017
Okay.
after a while away. So,
Similar
yeah.
time, because the band that I have now, so I was pretty dormant for a long time in the P-Funk arena even. And when I started the band, the current band I have, I started in 2016. So we're 10 years old this year. And I knew all of the people that I know now, like yourself and all of the P-Funk luminaries and the people in the circle of P, and all of the people I've met from all over the country that you would think are lifelong friends. I've only known them since 2016. So, but it's the tribe. So we all just picked up, we all were 17, 18 at the same time. We remember the mothership. We remember the underwater boogie show. Like we all got those memories. So I think that's what forged in our minds around that time. So to reconnect with people like that from all over the country, man, that's wonderful. You know, so yeah, you said 2017. So we're in it about the same amount of time this go around.
Well, actually, 2016 is when I launched the Funk and Stuff website.
There we go.
So,
That,
so
2016
you're,
is a magical
yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. Leadership is better then. A lot of things are better then.
That's
But
right. Exactly.
wow. So, when did you first see P Funk perform? I mean, did you see him back in the 70s?
I did. I saw them in 79. My wife and I have this running debate because she swears that we saw the mothership land. And I say, well, I don't, unless I'm just losing memory or whatever, I don't remember being like, I saw it on the video, you know, the Earth Tour videos and stuff, but in person. And so we had this debate and she swore I was wrong. So I went and actually researched. I went back and found their tour history from the 70s, like what every venue they had been at. And in 1979 in Roanoke, Virginia, it was the Aqua Boogie tour. And that was the first time I saw them live. And I was just blown away because they had all the lasers set up in a way that it looked like they were, I don't know if you ever went to that one, but in person, it looked like they were underwater performing the whole show with seaweed and everything else. And I was just blown away. And
And the
then
giant bird too, right?
Giant Bird, yep.
Yeah.
And the car that came. I mean, it was really a spectacle like nothing I had ever seen. And then believe it or not, the next show that I went to live P-Funk was in the 90s. And it was in Richmond, Virginia, and it was when Gary was leading them, and it was a little bit of a different, it was more of the P-Funk All-Stars at that point. And then I didn't plan to go see them. Kind of, like I say, life was life went on into got into Prince a little bit and a little bit of other stuff. And my wife, for my birthday in 2016, got tickets to George Clinton and P-Funk in Roanoke outside of the Edgewood Park Amphitheater. And I hadn't seen them now. It's been almost a decade. And I'm like, well, I don't really know how they're sounding and blah, 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 blah. And we went, and that was when they came out with the Shake the Gate stuff. And I was sitting there, what is going on? Like, I love it. The kids George was up there doing all this, and it was energized. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? There was so much stuff. And I'm like, okay, now I got to get back into some of that. And that's when I formed the band that I have now, so that I could kind of get in on that P, so that's where we are. And so I've been going to a lot of shows, not as many as Jeffrey Mitchell, but I'm trying to get in a repertoire each year of whenever they're in striking distance, I try to be there,
Yeah. I saw him for years at shows in California, where I'm from Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I always wondered who that guy was. And I never knew until I saw him on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's
fun, man. He's a great guy, man. We talk all the time.
That's cool. Did you see anyone else back in the 70s? Did you see Cameo? Did you see any of those bands?
Well, for some reason, we became parents pretty early as teenagers. And so I'm a responsibility type guy. So, I did a lot of this stuff I just put away, but did manage to catch Rick James a couple times, the Fired Up tour, that kind of stuff. But then didn't go and see a lot of other live concert stuff. I was into music heavily, but it just didn't, life didn't lend itself for me to travel and go see the shows. I would have loved to have done that back then. Making up for it now.
What year did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 78.
Okay, I'm 79. Yeah.
Oh, really? We're right there, man. Right there, man.
Yeah. Cool. So what about in terms of, playing music, singing, how'd you get exposed to that? How'd you cultivate that?
Yeah, so I was saying about how the local band, the Dynatones is what they were called back in the late 70s, they ruled in our area. We used to go, like I said, I would press up against their rehearsal space until they finally realized who I was. And they said, man, come on in, and it was my first exposure to seeing the guys in my neighborhood playing the stuff that I was hearing on the radio. So that gave me the impression and the idea that if they can do that, then maybe I can do that. And I think that's what's missing a lot with kids today, is they don't have that exposure to that type of a live band that's just rehearsing next door or up the street that they can sneak and look at and even think that that's something that I can do. That was one of the reasons why we started our School of Funk for the kids, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for that reason of exposing teenage kids to live music and performance. So around that time, that got in my blood system. And I used to spend all my time in my mom's basement. I had 10 cans, like, the big fruit cans or whatever. After the food is out, I take the cans. I made me a timbale set out of cans with some sticks. And I was Maurice White, and I was doing Earth, Wind & Fire live, Gratitude album. And then I was put on like some long blonde wig and a cowboy hat, and I'm coming out and I'm George Clinton, in this P-Funk. And so I was just performing to nobody. I mean, it was just me in the basement, man. It was, I guess, pathetic when I look back at it. But anyway, you got to start somewhere, I saw a commercial the other day where this little girl was rehearsing something and she's got all the little stuffed animals lined up as the audience. And I'm like, Dad, I didn't even have the stuffed animals. But, and then some kind of way after I graduated high school, there was a local R&B band called Cuffs and Sleeves, which is an interesting name. But I joined that band and my wife joined that band right after me. And that's how we met. And singing to each other, turned into one thing. Next thing you know, we're parents. But but yeah, so I did that for a couple of years. But when the parental thing kicked in, I said, nah, I got to get a real job, real career. I can't depend on whether or not I'm going to make it doing any music. So, just say, hey, put it all away, forget everything, And then probably in the early 2000s, I get the time confused sometimes because it was such a long time. I joined a local band called the House Band here. And it was a bunch of guys my age that we were all playing like Earth, Wind and Fire and Jeffrey Osborne, stuff like that, just doing parties and events, weddings, galas, and all that kind of stuff. And then that became pretty big. And we actually traveled up and down the East Coast playing in places like DC and New Jersey at big gala functions and hotel conventions and stuff since I was in the hotel business. And so I did that for about a decade. And then I finally, like I say, then I went to see that P-Funk thing and I was like, okay, I can't do R&B stuff or the regular stuff anymore. I got to get some P-Funk going. So that's when I switched it and started the new band, the band that I have now.
And what about playing instruments? What do you handle? What do you do?
I can do a little bit of something on the drums long enough to keep a groove if it happens, Other than that, I mean, I've had guitars, I've had bass, I've had keyboards. I'm not a musically inclined person. I always used to, when I found out, one of the greatest days for me was when I found out that Michael Jackson didn't play any instruments, but he would sit with a musician and hum whatever, how it goes or whatever, and they could do it.
Like James Brown mostly too.
And I said, you know what? I don't feel bad then because I can't play nothing, but I got it up here. I've got the sound. I know what it's supposed to sound like. I know the lyrics. I know everything else. So if I can get with people that can bring it to life, then that's where we're at. But I'm in awe of the musicians that I'm surrounded by because they know notes. So they'll say, Tony, is that one in G? And I'm like, man, don't ask me. I have no idea what that is.
G-Funk, yeah.
G-Funk, And then, and so the superpower is surrounding myself with the ingredients that I need, real musicians or singers, because people always say, well, you're the singer on your band. I'm like, well, I can get us through a song if I have to, but I'd rather have like real singers on there that actually can sing. I'm more of a band leader, conductor,
It's really the George Clinton model.
Exactly right. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm an entertainer and a performer, but I would not label myself as a singer.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to your website, like I have, it's just unbelievable. I don't know I've seen another one quite like it that has so many different things.
I know.
how have you become such a Renaissance man?
I don't know, man. Someone, there are people out there who are the gurus of websites and stuff like that. And several of them have said, man, you got too much stuff on there. Like you need to define it down or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not defined. It's like, all these things you see that I'm doing, the movies, the comic books, the this, the this, the that, that's stuff that I'm doing. And why should my website be limited to that? They say, oh, okay, well, people are going to have trouble finding. I'm like, well, if they do, they do. But man, I've got so much traffic on my website daily, and I can tell what everybody's visiting, and it's a smorgasbord of all that stuff that's on there. So I'm adding more, man. It's just, I just love doing things. I think I'm just a super creative like that. It's like if you tell me something of a art form or a genre, I'm going to say, well, let me see what I can do with that, and it may not be the best thing ever, but it's coming from me. So all of this stuff is extension of what I want to do, what I think about daily.
How do you keep it all organized?
I don't know. I'm juggling all the time. And that's one of the problems I have is I'll be working on a song or something and I'm getting something ready and then it's like squirrel, it's like magazine. Okay, I can do a magazine. And then somebody's like, hey man, where's the song? I'm like, oh shoot, man, I've launched a magazine last night. Let me get back to the song. So that's just how my mind just, it's a chameleon like that. It just works like that. So I couldn't tell you how I do it.
When did you first meet members from P-Funk, and what was that experience like?
Oh, wow. Wow. I guess so that 2016, when I went to see them in Roanoke, and I had to go up like at the end. Of course, now I didn't know George Clinton. Now I know him now, and he knows who I am and so forth and so on, but it was a road to get to that. But at that point, I was just in awe. And so we went over to the stage at the end of the show, like hanging by the railings and stuff. And then Raphael with the, God's Weapon, he came walking by, and I'm like, man, that was so amazing. He said, thank you, man. And we dapped up or whatever. And then a couple of the other young ones came by. Trezay, I think, was there. But nobody knew me or anything, or my wife or anything like that. We just kind of were like starstruck, like, that's George, that's Parliament-Funkadelic, that's 3GP, And it wasn't until then we started following them. So back then at that point, there was, you probably know from watching it, George's wife, Carlon, films their live shows. She live streams them, what she calls PTV. And there was a app called Periscope. Back then it was part of Twitter, I think. And so she would live stream all of their shows on Periscope. So I got a Periscope account, start sitting in my bedroom, watching all of the shows. And my wife would be going to sleep and I'd be up to no matter what time it is, because sometimes they're on the West Coast or Japan or whatever. And I'm up watching this thing. And the whole thing was the more interaction you did, you got more credit and you became like, they had a ranking of these are the top 20 P-Funk followers right now or whatever, right? And so I would always be down in the teams and I'm like, I want to be number one. And so this guy, Earl Howard, I don't know if you know Earl or not, he's out of Houston. He was always number one. I'm like, who is this Earl Howard guy and how is he always number one? So I was determined every show I'm going to tune in and I'm going to hit the heart sign. Like I'm sitting there going heart, for the interactions or whatever. And finally, I remember that day that I became number one and I had to message Earl. I didn't know him. I was like, dude, I just overtook you as the number one person on the thing. But at that point, I still hadn't met him. This was all just by far. So just so happens that they came to the Howard Theater in DC for Valentine's. And that's my wife and I anniversary. And so we said, we're going. And the cool thing about the Howard is you get right up to the stage. There's no barriers. There's no seating up in the rafters or whatever. You're right there. And so we get there and we go out and we call it front row funkin'. That's what our term is now. So a bunch of us got there ungodly hours ahead of when the doors open. And we stand in line, met some new friends, people that I know to this day, I met in those lines like that. And then, so we get inside and we run up, break our necks to get like right here, I'm like, okay, George and we're gonna come out. So they come out, P-Funk comes out, and George comes out, and he's barefoot. He has no shoes on, man. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, "That's George Clinton's foot, like right there, like it's right there, like and so he's singing, and I had learned the album, and there was a part in Get Low, I think it is, one of the 3GP songs, where I promised the funk, promise to keep this promise, you'll keep the funk. And they were doing the song, and I'm yelling out that part, and he looks and he says, "What you say?" And he puts the mic in my face, and I sing it, and the whole place is like, "Yeah!" They're like, and so the old heads are looking at me like, "How you know the young stuff?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm into all of it." And so we're watching and watching, and so I'm on my phone watching Carlon's live feed. Even though I'm right there, I'm watching the live feed too, because she's getting other content. And then I start looking, I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like the back of my head. She comes up behind us, and my wife and I are standing there, and I'm like, "You're Carlon." And she was like, "Hey, y'all the Cams," or whatever. And she came on in with us, man. And you would have thought she and my wife had been friends like forever and ever and ever. But from that point, that's where a connection was kind of made. And then so we always have conversations. We message each other. Like we'll be doing stuff with my band, and she'll message and say, "George says y'all got it," So I'm like, validation, that kind of thing. So now I've started to meet them now over the past 4 years or so, going to shows. You get to a point where they recognize you and come on backstage, and then here in my city, we've had them here twice. One to the Lock-In Festival, which is a little bit north of us, and we had them on the Riverfront concert series for my birthday. I think it was 2018, I think it was. And they all stayed at my hotel. So that was a cool thing. When I found out they were coming, and the Academy said, "Hey, we got a treat for you. We're bringing George Clinton to the Riverfront." I'm like, "Where are they staying?" They're like, "We're going to put them up with you." I'm like, "Excellent." Contacted Tanisha and them and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to block off 2 floors. Just give me the rooming list. We're going to handle everything." And so we had it all set up with food for them and all this stuff. And I found myself sitting there like across from George Clinton eating pie and just talking shit, man. It was like amazing. And then so I just went with them to the show, and he said, "Come on stage." And so from that point, Garrett, Benzel, like all of them now are guys that just like, it's unbelievable how just regular people that they are, how cool they are. They welcome you in. And so, yeah, so that's my meeting of them all has been recent. But back in the old days, of course, they were just posters on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
Long, convoluted story, but.
No, I appreciate it. And you at least went to or performed at the Funketeers Ball as well?
Oh, yeah, I've done Funketeers Ball now so we went to Funketeers Ball number 4. We're on number 10 this year. And so I had never knew about Funketeers Ball. And what happened was when I got into this thing, I was like, I wonder where the other P-Funk tribute bands are around the country. And I started Googling. Of course, the Clones of Funk came up out of Annapolis. And I didn't know any of them guys. So I just went on Messenger, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm ToNY Cam. I'm starting a P-Funk group. I want to know y'all got any advice or venues we can try to play or whatever." And immediately Terry Holland, who just recently passed away, but Terry Holland, bass player, messaged me back and said, "Yo, cuz, what you trying to do? Here are some venues. Come on up, party with us, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, how is this just that easy? It can't be." So I took him up on it. My brother-in-law and I went. They had a concert for Bootsy, Halloween, for celebrating Bootsy's birthday, and Bootsy was the MC. And the Clones of Funk was the band. And so they said, "No, you ain't coming in, and you coming backstage with us, sound check, da, 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 da." So we did. We hung out with Bootsy. We had a great time and all that. And so from that interaction, I started meeting people that were influential in that DMV area, were putting on stuff. So next thing I know, Brett Murray has us at Sabre Bowie, and then George Darden has us at the Blue Dolphin, and all of that leads to George Darden, Julia Ridgely, Robert Woods, I know several other ones started the Chocolate City Alliance. That's who puts on Funketeers Ball. And they asked us, they said, hey, we've got 420 Funk Mob coming, Funketeers Ball 4. What you guys think about being the opening act? And I'm like, opening act for Clip Payne and the 420? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I didn't even ask money. I didn't even care, like, what does it pay or anything else? I'm like, yep, we're in. So we went there and we did the opening. I was nervous. It was the most nervous I've ever been because I've been performing for years. I had even done P-Funk stuff in front of normal audiences. Funketeers Ball is 300-400, all Funketeers. You mess up a word, you say a phrase wrong, you faking the funk. I was so nervous backstage, and this is my first time meeting these people. I don't know them. They don't really know me. They probably had seen some little blurbs of us being somewhere. And I'm like, I got to go out here, and either we're going to bomb or they're going to like us. Either way, it's showtime. And then Frankie Waddy was drumming. He was the MC. He said, Cam, at the sound check, he said, Cam, I'm going to sit in on the drum kit along with your other drummer. You're going to have two drummers. I'm like, Frankie Waddy's going to be on the drum kit? Like, what are we doing here? So me and my guys from Lynchburg, we're the band. And so we go out there and we start into, I said, you know what? I don't want to do anything that everybody knows. So I'm going to Make You Sick of Me had just come out. And nobody around the country was playing that except P-Funk. So I said, you know what? We're going to come out with something that people don't know. So we came out with I'm Going to Make You Sick. And we came out on the stage, we're doing the stuff. And I don't know if you've ever been to Bethesda or to the Funketeers Ball, but it's a big open floor, but then there's seats all, back, which I hate because it's that chasm between the band and the audience. We get out there, we're starting the song. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my George dance and all that stuff. And the floor is empty and everyone's sitting there. And I'm like, oh shit, like this is not, come on, 30 minutes, like, let's get this thing over with. And I never will forget, it was like a minute and 38 seconds into the show. Jeffrey Mitchell comes out on the dance floor with his phone and his recorder, because he records everything. And he's doing what I call the Jeffrey dance. And he's getting into it. And I'm like, okay, well, we got Jeffrey. Next thing I know, Funkster Jones comes out. He got on all his P-Funk gear and he's like, yeah. Robin Denson comes out. Next thing you know, the floor is just filled with people. This is on the first song. So I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. And then so we had, a 30-minute set or whatever. And that was my introduction to a Funketeers Ball. And it was wonderful. And then the following year, I was asked to be the MC. And then the year after that, I was approached by Julia originally to actually join the Chocolate City Alliance as a member. So I did. And so we did a couple of more Funketeers Balls. Then we had a COVID year. And then Dr. G, George Darden, passed away 2 years ago. And so it's the Chocolate City Alliance is now Julia and I, for all intents and purposes. And so now I went from, opening at the ball, emceeing the ball, and now I'm putting on the ball.
Hey, carrying the torch.
Carrying the torch. It's a worthwhile thing. So we're doing 10-year anniversary this year. We're in talks right now to bring it back to Bethesda Theater. Last year we did it in a hotel. It was more cost effective, and we did a tribute inside the hotel ballroom. But I think we're going back to Bethesda Theater this year for Funketeers Ball 10. So it's a 10-year anniversary. We're going to be celebrating the albums that came out in 1976, which was Stretching Out, Bootsy Stretching Out, Hardcore Jollies, Tales of Kid Funkadelic, and of course, the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein. So we're going to have 2 or 3 bands all paying tribute to those albums. So it's going to be amazing.
Nice. Yeah. That event, I've always wanted to go, but I haven't because it's in September and it's always like on top of an event that I have to go to in my day job industry,
Oh,
which moves around the country. So
well, I thought you just said you're gonna retire. So go ahead and do that so you can
I
come
know,
Funketeers Ball 10.
yeah, that's another good reason to hang it up. Yeah. Tell me about your shows that you do now. What are they like?
Yeah, so right now we're in a kind of a little bit of a interesting period. So my band, the Funk All Stars that I've had, like I said, it's our 10-year anniversary. We weren't exclusively P-Funk. We do a lot of different stuff, pop shows, because a lot of times the people that book us are like weddings or galas or things like that. And they don't really want P-Funk. They know a couple, two or three P-Funk songs, but they want to hear the Earth, Wind, and Fire dance stuff, Bruno Mars, all that kind of stuff, KC and the Sunshine Band. So we're really prolific with that. Probably one of the most entertaining acts that you'll see doing that kind of stuff. As we've gone the past 2 years, as I've gotten more involved and lined up with P-Funk, I'm finding that that's where the real heart is. So fortunate for me, I've got a new unit now that includes, Guy Curtis on guitar, Zach Robertson on vocals, Mike McHenry on guitar, Robert Woods from the Clones on drums, Chris Schmidt on keys, and now we are the All Stars of Funk, which is different from the Funk All Stars, but we are actually doing pretty much P-Funk music. Not necessarily a tribute band, but we're doing a lot of P-Funk stuff. And so we're starting to get booked for festivals, and so we're doing a big one in New York in July, and then we've got some other stuff going on in the DC area. So right now, I'm living out my wildest George Clinton-esque dreams because I'm now the front man for a band of real P-Funk people who know the music. And the coolest thing is on my band, the Funk All Stars, I'm about 15, 20 years older than everybody. Like all my band guys are in their 40s or even younger. And now on this group, I'm one of the youngest because all those guys are like upper 60s and 70 years old. But the beautiful thing is all of us know the music up and down. So we've never rehearsed. We'll say, hey, we got a gig in DC at a brewery next Saturday. We'll all meet there, never played anything. And then here's the set list. And we just start going with it because everybody knows where everything is supposed to go in the song. Beautiful. So I'm doing that is on one hand. On the other hand, as you mentioned earlier, my new music, that new funk, which is what I'm promoting a lot of now with the two albums, Volume 1 and Volume 2, is all original music that is my stuff that now I have a separate band. Like you're saying, like, wait a minute, there you go, doing that again. A separate band to bring that stuff to life. So now I've got two different shows that I'm kind of pitching and working on. One's P-Funk related and one is new funk related.
When you do the P-Funk shows, do you go to any, deeper album cuts or just hits or?
Oh yeah, no, we go deep. We do, well, of course we do the Maggot Brain, Cosmic Slop, stuff like that, which are the hits, but we have done stuff as far as like The Song Is Familiar. We did that. We do that one. Super Stupid, stuff like that, because the guys on the band are real P-Funk aficionados. So a lot of times they're bringing out stuff that I'm like, dang, I haven't heard that in, 40 years. I got to go dust off and figure out what the lyrics are on that particular song. So that's the beauty of that, man, just hanging out with those cats.
Yeah, that's what I really like about Clip. He really digs into some of that stuff.
I love that. And that's one thing I love about those groups like 420 Funk Mob, Enema Squad, like Gabe and them. Like when you play with them, like I have the fortune to be on stage. I did a show here in Lynchburg for a New Year's Eve show with my band, and Gabe came down to DJ for the weekend and wound up sitting in on Red Hot Mama on the drum kit. And it was a whole different experience. And I'm sitting there the whole time. I told the audience, I'm like, y'all gotta excuse me if I pause for periodically, because I'm just saying, oh, what's going on the stage? Garrett Shatter came down. He was on guitar. Shirley Clinton came down. She jumped on vocals. It was like, I love playing with my band and the stuff we do, but when you're playing with real P-Funk people, it's a whole different thing going on. And I'm enjoying it more than anybody in the whole room.
Yeah, living the dream, man.
That's it, man. It can't get better, man. I'm just telling you, it's just I'm thanking the universe every day for this.
So on those volume 1s and 2, I made some notes on tracks and things like that.
Okay, cool.
But as far as big picture goes, why don't you tell us, the inspiration behind it for you, and your process, in general.
Yeah. So I've always been a songwriter at heart. I've been walking around for decades with songs locked up in here. Never been able to get them out. Various reasons, but I've tried over the years, to sit down with bands and stuff and get them to flesh out, but it never really sounds exactly like what I want. So now with the invention, well, I guess not invention, but the resurgence right now of digital platform stuff, AI generated type stuff, I'm able to bring all of these songs out of my head, actually present them to the world. And so that's why the albums volume 1 and that New Funk volume 1 and volume 2, say, written and produced by ToNY Cam. It doesn't say that I'm the artist, because I'm going at it not as an artist, but as a songwriter and a producer. And one of the coolest things I ever saw was years and years ago that Quincy Jones put out an album called Back on the Block. And, Quincy was not a singer, or I don't know if he even played instruments, but he was a composer and conductor.
I think he played some trumpet, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, right, true. That's true, yeah. But he brought all these people together with songs that were so different on the album. There was the variations of people he put together. And so it was a Quincy Jones project, but you're not going to hear him singing on it, and you're not going to hear him probably playing on it, but that's his creation, and it gets that out to the world. So I look at volume 1 and volume 2 as my kind of back on the blocks, where I said, well, look, I've got all these songs. Right now it's 22. There was 10 songs on the first album, and the volume 2 that just came out is 12 on that one. So it's like 22 songs that I've had either for years in my head, and some just came to me recently, just walking around the house. And I'm good with humming something, and sometimes I'll just get a groove going, and I'm like, okay, that's cool right there. And I'll think of what a hook will be. And so I always pick up my phone and hit my voice recorder just to put something down, just so I don't forget. Because, I don't know if you're a musician or not, or a singer or whatever, but those ideas can be fleeting. You say, oh, I got the best thing, and when I get home, I'm going to put it down and write it down, and it's gone, by the time you get home. So whip out the phone, sing the whole thing into there or whatever. And then so I found out through Suno that there's an option in there that you can actually upload your your vocal recording, and it can kind of help you figure out what the music is like, what the voices are like, what the, all that stuff. So the process I use for both of these albums is it's 100% my performance, because I actually perform the entire song into my voice recorder, the whole 3-4 minutes, whatever it is. I'm sitting there going, it's just the nature of you to be, just like that. And I'm recording all this. And so when I put that into the thing and I'll say, you know, put some drums, put some bass, or have a female vocal. So all the vocals you're hearing on the songs is actually me. It's just put in a different form. It's like me singing as a female, or me singing as a younger guy, or whatever. It's fascinating. I had no idea that I could do that. I think I chat GPT'd it one day and said, is this possible? And it said, sure. So I said, well, let me try it. And so I went in with That New Funk, which is the first song off of that. And I just, that give me that new funk. Doo-doo. And it came out that way. And I'm like, wow, if I can do that with that, what else can I do? And so one song led to another and another and another. I had no intention of putting an album out. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting these songs. They're sounding exactly like I heard them up here. And I said, you know what? Producer, songwriter, I got to get these ideas out. And I was pleasantly surprised that people started saying, whoa, wait a minute, who is this? What is this? What is this? We love this one. We love that one. And then the albums start selling. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what have I been doing all this time? So that's the process behind that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Who knew we would ever get to this place, you know, where us frustrated musical people would have an outlet.
And an outlet. And I think that's the beauty of it. You know, of course, you know, I know it's controversial. And some of my musician friends, when they first heard the album, they're like, okay, well, who's on bass and who's on it? I'm like, nobody. I'm saying the whole thing is just me, man. I did it on my couch, you know, over 5 days. And they were like, oh no, we're not getting with that. Now those same guys, after listening to the album a couple of times, they're like, what's that link again? Because now they're seeing too that even if you're a musician, the benefits of it, you know, because the biggest obstacle to putting out music and stuff is studio time, paying musicians, mixing, mastering, all that stuff. By the time you do all that, a song's going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 if you're lucky. You're never going to make that back nowadays on the music because everything's streaming. You're getting pennies if you get anything from it, you know. So why not just I look at it as these are the songs and poems and everything else that I have inside that I want to put out into the world. And if people can listen to it and get something from it, what difference does it make? You know, how the sausage was made, you know, eat the sausage.
Were there any ones or times where there was something you were trying to get musically and it was hard to make it happen through that?
Not really, because the cool thing is it gives you several versions, you know, like when you go in and try to generate a version of what you're doing, it'll give you a couple of options. And if you don't like those, you just do it again. And then you can do it infinite amount of times until you get the one. I was fortunate enough that generally the first one or the second one was exactly how I envisioned it to be. And I guess it's because it's more complicated than just me typing in a prompt, hey, write me a song about Scott Goldfine's show, put it to a funky beat. All right, that would be really easy. And then you're going to get whatever, and it's going to write lyrics that might sound hokey or whatever else. But I think when it's different, when you actually, like I said, every part of every song came out of my mouth, you know. So if you hear a trumpet playing, I'm going or something like that and layering that in. Or if you're hearing keys do a certain thing, I'm generally either whistling or I'm doing a moved sound with my mouth, and it's interpreting and all that. So I generally get exactly what I was looking for because that's what I'm inputting into it.
But you have to copyright or do something with publishing with them, or how do
Oh
you handle that?
yeah. So if you again, if you're doing it like the way that I'm doing it, then it's all my, it's all my composition. I'm not asking the software to create a groove on it. It's just taking what I put into it. And if I say la, 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 And I said, make that with a bass, So, but yeah, all of the stuff is copyrighted. I'm on ASCAP and, all of the sound exchange, all that stuff. So all that is all my music.
So did you have to learn about that? Did you already know?
Oh yeah. Well, I knew a lot about it. So I put out my first record in 2020. It was called Hey Shorty. And I got with a label out of New York, Isotopia Records. And I was like, I want to try this thing. I want to see if I can be a recording artist. I was 60 years old. And I'm like, you know what? I want to give this thing a shot. And this friend of mine sent me this music track. And I said, what can I do with that? And lyrics started coming to me. And then I reached out and I got George Clinton to be on it. He featured on it. I got Scotty Clinton on it. I got a local rapper, Lavelle, on it. And so we went, actually, the process was I took the instrumental, went in the studio with my sound guy, with my studio guy, recorded my part, sent it to Trezay, said, hey, P on it. He did his thing. I sent it to Scotty, said, hey, P on it. She did her thing. And so we all got writing credits and all that stuff. And that process taught me a lot about the whole process from A to Z, like the recording of it, registering the song, mixing and mastering. That's how I know it costs X amount of dollars to do one record, And then we did a music video that we shot with animation that cost us like almost $3,500 or something to pay an animation guy to bring the whole music video to life. So I learned a lot about all the processing through that. And then with the help of ChatGPT now, I mean, you can go in there right now and just say, hey, I want to release an album. What are my steps? And it'll say first this, make sure you're covered for everything. So as far as everything is, unless, the court systems come down and say, well, no, it's not legal. Right now, I'm the copyright owner of the songs that I created through the platform.
Yeah, I was curious, when I first listened to it, a lot of the tracks were short.
Yeah.
And I thought it's almost kind of like a sampler, it's got a lot of variety.
Yeah.
Because it goes from funk to country to rock to, slow, fast. And I was wondering, is this like he's kind of putting it out there as sort of like a taste of all these things and he's going to expand on it?
Yeah, and that's the funniest thing. So I know that the industry right now, standard, if you're listening to radio, songs are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I mean, there's some are like 2 minutes long, We come from knee deep being 15 minutes or whatever. So a lot of my P-Funk friends were like, we love, the songs on the thing, man, but they need to be longer, man. And I'm like, but again, where that comes from is, like I said, I'm performing that song the entire, it's not me just saying, here's an idea and then copy paste and all that stuff. I'm actually performing. So when I hit my record, I'm like, okay, I got to go 3 minutes on this. I got to do all the parts, sing the verse again, sing the hook again, put the interlude in. So I'm doing all that for the entire. So after about, 3 minutes or whatever, I'm kind of like, okay, wait a minute, what I'm going to do with this right now? I can't stretch it to 5 or 6 minutes. So that's why a lot of the songs are around that 3 minute mark, or maybe even a little shorter, simply because I just ran out of steam, It's just all coming from me. But yeah, it's and the reason why it's got so many different styles of music is because that's what I really wanted to. Like I said, all these years, these styles of music and these types of songs have been in my head. And I'm like, that new funk, people have a debate about what funk music is. And, there's funky and then there's funk. And, I've heard it described by Mr. Clinton and by Jeffrey Mitchell and other people that funk is whatever you need it to be, and it's a lifestyle, So I said, you know what? I'm going to call it that new funk. And some of it's going to be funk, some's going to be country, some's going to be pop, some's going to be R&B, but it's just all about the songs and the music without having a real label on them. If you like it, you like it.
So you use a program of some kind that allows layering of your sounds?
Yeah. So it's all done in Suno.
And so that's kind of like a multi-track kind of
Yeah,
process?
you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can put it in there, and then you can go into Suno Studio and actually break out the stems. So everything I'm doing has stems in it that I can actually go in a real studio with or engineer. And I have done that on a couple of things, and actually taken this bass line out and have a bass player come in and really do it and put that back in. So all that stuff can be done. What I'm finding, and I tried it with a couple of songs with some vocals and stuff, is that nobody that I go in the studio with makes it better than what it is, So I'm like, I got to put out the most best version. Like, you would have to go in with singers, and then you got to go and spend time pitching with the auto tuning and all that to get stuff straight. And this thing puts all the notes perfectly and all that stuff. So it's revolutionary. Again, like I said, I know that there's some controversy. Well, a lot of real artists are saying, that this is not fair, and that, we're in the studio singing and da da da. And I don't disagree with them at all. But as far as me wanting to get my thoughts and feelings out in a musical format, I'm going to do it. So you don't buy it if you don't believe in what it's doing. But that's totally up to the individual, and I totally respect anybody that doesn't want to do it that way. But it is harder the other way.
Yeah, well, I think you've inspired me. I'll tell you, because I'm a little bit like you. I mean, music is so important and central to who I am, but I'm not that musical either. I can't sing in key. So that's one. So that's why I became a DJ. Because I could bring music to the people,
Right.
and I didn't have to, be really good at playing an instrument, and I didn't have to worry about my out of tune voice.
Right. Same with me, because I put out. Before I did it this way, I put out 3 or 4 records. And when they come on or I hear them somewhere, I can't, how people say they can't stand to hear their own voice. And I'm like that. And I'm just like, oh God, but of course, I'm also hearing that people say, well, you don't really sound like that to yourself, like you sound to other people. But to me, I'm just like, I sound okay. The song is really good, but that vocal, and now so I'm able to put vocals that really, really make me feel good about it. And so I'm just as entertained. I listen to all these songs all the time walking around the house, because I'm like, dang, that song is good, but it came from, there would be no song there if it wasn't for the human being that said, this is the thing, So
Yeah.
Creativity is creativity in a lot of different forms. I mean, music has taken that way. It used to be, when they got into sampling and making all of the music on the computer and then sending it to a person just to put the vocals on, where the bands were left out at that point.
Yeah.
Just the singers were brought in. So now the singers are left out too.
Yeah. I mean, the drum machine might have been the beginning of that, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's all evolving, and you just kind of say, look, this is the new technology. This is the new art form. Get with it, play with it, be in it, or you don't have to. It's everything's good for everybody.
How long would you say it takes you, Tony, to, let's say you have a song already where you've done the lyrics and you have kind of in mind, how long does it take you approximately to create that song?
5 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
5 to 10 minutes, because
that's incredible.
You've got it all together. See, I have it all together in my head before I even start the process. So I'm not thinking around. Like, I already know what the hook is. I've written out the lyrics. And so I'm actually doing a performance track. So I'm performing the song as if I was live somewhere, just like I used to do in my mom's basement with the tin cans and no audience. I'm performing that thing like I'm on stage doing it. And that's why it comes out with that kind of an energy. So when I upload it, it captures that spirit of all that in it. So it's not just lyrics. Well, Johnny came, whatever. It's actually what Johnny came, so it, I don't know how they do it and who came up with it, but it's just fascinating. I think it's going to be, well, I know it's life-changing already because I'm seeing on, when you use stuff, you start getting all of the feed and ads and stuff. And I'm seeing like a lot of major arts people, are now using it to get their ideas across, to get stuff out quicker, because, you got to think to make a 12-song album the regular way takes months, studio time, mixing, mastering, all of that stuff, and a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. 5 days I did volume 1,
Wow. Now everyone can be like Prince.
Hey, yep. The ideal wise, yeah. Now, here's the really cool part about it is I'm a live show person as well. I like to perform. So I just recently had the debut show of those songs off of volume 1. So I put together a band that had to learn the material. I found the singers that could bring the lyrics and stuff to life. And we did the show. It was standing room only, and everyone loved the music. They loved the song. So the songs now have been performed in live form. I could have done that same thing with the band and all the singers in the studio to make the album, but we still be making the album, and I'd be broke on a retirement income. So it's one of those things where I'm like, why not? Let's try it. And then you get kind of hooked on it. Like I can't, like when we get off from this interview, I'm sitting down talking to you. I just did a little something right here that gave me an idea for something. I'll probably just go and make a song tonight. If I do, I'll send it to you.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that process, Tony. I appreciate it. When did you come up with the style of doing the upper lowercase stuff?
I don't know. For a while now, I've been doing my name with the lowercase. When I get it, I'll get it mixed up. Vowels, your consonants and vowels, right? Anything, all of the vowels are always lowercase, and the other letters are capital. Just something quirky, and I started doing that with my name on posters and things. And then what I found that people will message me, or if someone writes me a check for a performance or whatever, they'll do it that way with the little O and the and the little A and the capital because they've seen it. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's branding. So I kind of use that as my brand, So I started doing that now with song titles and things like that, just lowercasing all of the vowels.
Now you got to keep it up. You created a monster.
I know, right? Okay. Somebody gonna message me or something and say, "Man, I don't think this was really you that wrote that because it was caps on everything or nothing."
So on volume 1, I'm not going to go through every track, but too cool, not too cool. That one's like it's country and funky.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and the coolest thing is when we did that live. One of my the ladies on my band, Bethany Nicosia, when we started rehearsing, I was like, "Listen, what songs off of the album do you want to bring to life?" And without question, she was like, "I got to do Not Too Cool," and she did it live, and she killed it. And it was really, really an amazing performance. But yeah, it's a little bit of, I don't know. I find it hard to define a lot of the stuff, what category to put, because when I go to pitch them on Spotify playlists and stuff, and they'll say, what genre? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Just, it's a little bit of everything in it. And but so the Not Too Cool, there's a country version. Maybe that's what you're speaking of too. There's two versions on the album. There's the regular Not Too Cool, and then there's Not Too Cool Country Jam.
Yeah, I was talking about the track 9, which is the
The country jam. Okay, yeah, that's straight up country. Yes, yes. And I do have a friend, a local friend who is a country artist, and she was like, "When you do your next show, you need to have me there, and I want to do that one." And I'm like, "You're in." Can't say yes,
And Nature of You is,
Nature of You.
that's got some jazzy
Yeah,
influence.
I had to put three versions of that on there because I made three versions of that song, and I couldn't decide which one to put on the album because they all touched me in a different way. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna put all three on there and let the people decide. And I always get comments from different people like, "Oh, the Lover's Cut is the one," the unplugged one I love, and then some like the original one. So, like I said, it's something there for everybody.
Yeah. And then the new one, I'd already told you like the ones that I was digging especially, which is it this type is small. Bride,
Yeah, Bride. Yep.
Bride,
Yep. And I think you said, did you say time number 9, maybe?
Eye Candy,
Eye Candy. Yeah.
and track 11, which I have writing over it. It's hard to read it.
Track 11.
Oh, Time.
Time
Right?
number 9.
Time number 9. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, those three.
More on the rock side. That's a kind of a somewhat of a rock song.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's AI guitar soloing then, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But again, AI guitar soloing with me humming that guitar solo. It'll enhance it certain places, but I'm sitting there going, myself into my phone and then inserting that and it's interpreting it. So it's very good.
Yeah, the Eye Candy has a nice bass groove.
Yeah. That's kind of like, so that's a remake of I did Eye Candy a couple years ago with Scotty Clinton, and I wrote it and I sent it to her to actually sing the hook for me. And we put it out and it did well. And then when I did this version, I gave it more of like a 90s kind of a feel to it. And I love it. I'm just like, it's like, so then I went and redid Sexy Things because I had released that prior. Shorty, I had released that prior. And so I wanted to take those same songs that I did before and redo them with this new technology and beefed them all up, and it made it sound, production is so much better on them. So now I'm loving all of those.
Well, I already told you that Loop de Loop should be a single. That's the one I think.
Yeah. Now which version you like, the regular loop to loop, or at the end there's the dance cut?
The regular.
Okay. Yeah. Some people are torn because the dance cut is more of a performance style, get you on the dance floor version of the same song. The other one is very pop. You can hear it on the radio, kind of.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I've got to create a girl group to bring that to life. Which I'm working on, by the way. So.
I know you're working on everything. What aren't you working on?
I know, man. Hey, I'm retired. I got time. What I'm gonna do? Got all day to do stuff.
Man, how many kids do you have?
4, from age 46 down to 30.
And did you come from a big family, or you didn't really talk about that?
No, it was my brother and my mom and I growing up. Got to know my dad later in life, so we're really close now, and I have two half sisters. But yeah, not a big family at all. Growing up for mostly my entire life was 3 of us in the household. So we have 4 kids, and I'm fine with that. And we have 2 grandchildren. I'm not looking for any additional ones anytime soon because the ones we have are one's in college and one is 13. So there's no babysitting duties going on. That's the running debate in our house is, when we have kids, you're gonna be, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna be on tour unless you want to find your kid on a tour bus somewhere in another city, leave them with me. But it's wonderful to be able to. That's why my wife is part of the band now. Is she does every show that I do, every band that I'm involved with. She's a part of it, and like I said, we picked up where we left off in 1979, and it's a wonderful thing to just be going on tour, doing shows and stuff, and having her there, not just with me, but on stage with me, and she's quite the attraction herself, So we're having a ball right now.
Yeah, sounds like it. Before we wind this up, Tony, I want to ask you if you could pick your 5 top albums.
Of all time.
All time. If you can only have 5, you're like wherever, whatever situation, I'm only giving you 5, and this is the ones you're going to be stuck with.
Okay. P-Funk Earth Tour, the double album, the live. Rick James, Street Songs. Prince, Sign of the Times. Wow, you're making this really difficult. That New Funk Volume 1 and Volume 2.
No, you can't pick your own. You can't pick your own.
Can't pick my own.
Yeah, that's...
Earth, Wind, and Fire, Gratitude, live in 75. So that's 4, right?
Yep.
One more. Man. Because any of the P-Funk albums, but I guess if I had to pick one, Mothership Connection is probably, one of my favorite that started the whole Parliament P-Funk kind of thing for me. So yeah, that would be the 5.
Okay. Yeah. And what about your 3 top P-Funk tracks?
3 top P-Funk tracks would have to be Mothership Connection, Standing on the Verge, and I'm gonna go. I have so many of them right now that are of the new stuff that I love, man. Mama Told Me. I'm one of those guys. I like when the younger stuff comes along. But if I had to just have 3 that I had to listen to for the rest of my life in rotation, it would be those 2 I just said, and then Cosmic Slop would be in it.
Yeah. The Cosmic Slop live or studio?
Live.
Yeah. So, Hardcore Jollies one or the Beverly Theater one?
Beverly Theater one. Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, and that's a longer one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at that show, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. What year was that? Was
83.
Gosh, 83. See, I wasn't into, I think at that point by 83, I think I had gone into Rick James land because Rick was hitting hard and around, I think like around 81. And I even was actually hanging out with some local guys. We would go to the clubs and we'd have like these braid wigs that people had made for us, and we'd have these hats on, and we're like, who y'all think y'all are, the Stone City Band? And I'm like, yeah, man, we cool like that. So, I was just doing that dress up thing, man, like at 20 something years old, which was ridiculous, but I never let it go. So now that's what I'm doing now. I'm putting on costuming and stuff, and I'm coming out on stage and people are loving it. And I feel like that's where I should have been all along, but hey, the universe is correct. And so no wine before it's time.
Yeah. Well, it's a great message, for anybody out there that it's never too late.
Yeah.
And you should pursue those dreams and, whatever it takes to keep the funk alive, of course.
That's it. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody your website and how they can keep up with all these things you got in the air.
Yeah, if you want to see any of the 47 things that I'm doing right now, go to ToNYCAMM.com, ToNYCAMM.com. And I call it the Tonyverse. So welcome to the Tonyverse. Pick whatever you want, from fashion to comic books to movies to film to novels to, it's all in there, and it's all coming from right here. And I think you're going to be entertained. Someone messaged me one day, this was like last year or something. They said, man, I made the mistake of clicking on your website for something, and it's day 3 and I've not left. I'm down to now the fashion stuff. It's that I've just been so entertained that I can't. I'm like, mission accomplished. That's what I want.
Sticky.
Right? You get in and you can't get out of the Tonyverse, man. You're trapped in there.
Yeah, it's like quicksand.
That's it. Right.
And thick and funky like that.
That's right. Exactly. Move
Yeah.
around too much, you're going to sink. The more you try to get out, pull you back in. So relax.
Yeah, like The Godfather.
That's it. Just relax and float. Free your mind.
For sure. Hey, well, congratulations on everything you have going on, and very cool to connect. And I hope you will get down this way before too long.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. We're looking at a couple of venues there in Charlotte to try to bring the our little P-Funk tour thing down there. So, and you might see that new Funk Volume 1 and 2 tour coming through there as well. So I'm gonna be working on it probably this summer, because I got 2 more albums to put out before June.
Are you going to keep it like going with 3 and 4, and or are you going to change it
I
up?
think now I'm going to switch it up. I think Volume 1 and 2 are that, and now I'm going to the next one. I actually was talking to one of my writing partners today. We're doing one that's completely funk centric now. So, and I'll probably bring in a lot more live people into the studio. I have probably the basis of the songs, and bring in actual players that actually, real guitar solos that are live and stuff like that, horns and all that. So I want to go and do a real funk album, because I feel that even though it's called that new funk, the Volume 1 had probably 2 or 3 songs that were funk related. Volume 2 probably has 1 that's real funk, and the rest of it is more R&B, pop. And I did that by design, because I basically had to purge all of these songs that I've had that I wanted to hear what they sound like. And I'm like, boom, so that's out there now, and people have got it. They can listen to it. They can do what they want with it. We're touring with it. We're playing it live, but now I want to get into some real funk, and because that community is where my that's my tribe.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that.
Yeah, man. Don't worry. Hey, I'm gonna be sending you everything now first. Don't worry.
Right on.
You and Carl Doss are my guys, man. I'm sending y'all that stuff like boom. Because you give me great feedback and honest opinions of the stuff, and I really like that,
Well, unlike some folks, I mean, I try not to stay totally stuck in the past. I mean, I like to hear new stuff,
Yeah.
And that's why when I go to the P-Funk shows, I especially love it when they'll pull something out, dust it off. A lot of times Danny helps them do that,
Yeah.
So,
the thing that's driving me right now, and I have to give you credit for that, is when you guys did your year-end top 25, and I watched that, and Scott Galloway, one thing he said grabbed me by the neck. He said, because you were asking, what do y'all want to see in 2026? And he said, I just want something like, what's next? Like, what is the next sound that's going to get me excited and make me want to buy an album and I perked right up, and I took that as a challenge. And I'm like, you know what? If I don't do anything, I got to find that sound or that thing that Scott Galloway says, that's the thing I was talking about. So I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission for that. So thank you for that.
All right. Glad to be of service.
All right.
Hey, it's been fun, Tony, man. Don't be a stranger, okay?
Oh yeah, I won't, man. Thank you, man, for having me. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Appreciate it.